find your health angels. Find the tribe. Find your people who believe in you and will help you find hope. Hello, I'm Karen Mellors.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Rosy Daniel.
You've just tuned in to Alive and Loving It, and we're here to help you bring joy and energy back to your life.
Before we dive into this week's episode, let's talk about a brand we both genuinely love, Cytoplan. You've probably heard us mention them before, and that's because their supplements are next level.
Yes, Cytoplan has been part of my routine for a while now. They just get it when it comes to health. Their whole approach is rooted in science and totally in tune with nature.
Exactly. Their formulas are bioeffective, which basically means the nutrients are in forms your body actually recognizes and uses properly and at the appropriate levels. Cytoplan is used and trusted by health practitioners across the country. Their formulas are developed by nutritional therapists and backed by over 3 decades of clinical insight. You really can feel the quality when you take them.
Plus, it's not just about what's in the bottle, it's the mission behind it too. Cytoplan is 100% owned by a charitable foundation, which means everything they do is about helping people live well for longer. It's not about trends or quick fixes, it's about real, lasting health.
That is so wonderful to know. And whether it's our energy, perimenopause, menopause itself, sleep, immunity, or just staying on top of your health, they've got you covered. You can also get a free health questionnaire and a consultation by ringing the helpline.
So if you're ready to take ownership of your health, check out Cytoplan, powered by nature, proven by science, and rooted in purpose. We'll pop the link and an exclusive 15% discount code in the show notes.
Hello and welcome to episode 15 of our season 2. And this time it's our beloved Karen who is our guest, because she's going to do something really precious, which is share her own tender story of her health journey through her life, which started with coming into this world with scoliosis, which, if you don't know that term, means a curvature of the spine. So first of all, Karen, thank you so much for being prepared to go into this with us all and share this vulnerability and how you've journeyed with that through your whole lifetime.
Oh, thank you, Rosy. Oh, it's very different being a guest, isn't it? I'm like, I don't know this place, but I've been so inspired by all of the true stories that we've heard so far. I thought, I would like to do that as well. If this helps anybody, then I'm ready to sort of share some details about what brought me here. You know, how come I'm doing a podcast about wellness and health, and how did I meet you? I mean, it goes right back to this. If it wasn't for, you know, the scoliosis in my spine and what I've learned about myself and the treatments I've had, I just wouldn't be here, Rosy.
Amazing. And let's just also honour the fact that you have just moved country to Scotland and are right on the verge of, you're in the process of building a new house. So you don't hang around, Mrs. Mellors.
No. It feels like we have hung around with this one because we've been traveling for 2 years, but that's just the length of time that it's taken to find our new home, find where in the world is the healthiest for us both, me and my husband. And what a journey. I've just landed up here. And by the way, it's not raining in Scotland, even though you've had monsoon season down in England.
And it is raining in Somerset, so
it's all a myth.
Fingers to the English, eh? Yeah, but that in itself, Karen, you know, the fact that you and Michael uprooted, sold your house, and became two drifters. If anybody hasn't checked out Karen's podcast, she's been sharing the journey with us the whole way, and to just take away all that structure, to see what was real for you now. So, you're always taking yourself onto that edge and seeing what's real and what's true, what's authentic. So absolutely honor that, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosie. It's not easy. And I think, it's a feeling at the end of the day. It's a feeling of, I need something else in my life, which became greater than I'm afraid
Yeah.
of taking the next step. I still have that fear. We both do, very much so.
Yeah.
But we allow it to come through and we talk about it, and then we still, take action. So yeah, on Instagram, it's at Two Drifters 2023.
Yeah.
And we've done a lot of live recordings in the different stages. So
In the rain, on the road, getting scared, getting happy. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's all there.
it is.
Amazing. And I do think what you've just said about that tipping point of feeling that you are missing something, how many of us just sit stuck in the uncomfortable comfort zone? We're going to come to that in our next theme about spirituality and what we call spiritual malaise, when you just know something isn't quite right. But that's me running ahead. We are firmly with you today, my dear. And
I will use that term now. Uncomfortable comfort zone.
yeah.
Yes, exactly that, Rosie.
Yeah. So tell us, in terms of, and obviously only go as far as feels comfortable for you, Karen, in what you share. But, thinking back to your childhood and arriving with the curvature of your spine, can you give us any sense of what that was like for you?
A shock, I think. Up until the age of 13, I don't really remember much about my life. It just seemed very easy and lovely. I had a great childhood, wonderful parents, lived with my sister as well, and I danced. I was a ballet dancer and loved to do that. I think spent most of my time away with the fairies, Rosie, just loving life, very happy. And then my dancing teacher said, your leotard's not on straight, and tried to sort that out, and then said to my mum, take her to the doctors, there's something not right with her back. And all the way through, the doctor was telling me it's probably just muscular. And then I saw an x-ray for the first time, and my spine is 80% curved at the top and 20% curved at the bottom in the opposite direction. So it's an S shape. And yeah, it was a shock. And from that moment, it felt like I had to grow up. And there was a lot of fear around me, a lot, from my parents, from the doctors. I'm like, what the hell's going on? This is serious. So from that point, and I remember the thought, Rosie, I said to myself, I'm not going to be a victim.
Wow.
And I very, very clearly in my bedroom as a 13, 14-year-old, everybody was crying around me, it felt like. And something came within me that was very much like, I am not going to be a victim.
Wow.
And this energy came in that would not accept that.
How magnificent that your spirit was strong and clear even then, Karen. But I think, was that not the time around which you faced a big operation on your spine?
Yep. So I wore a plastic brace sort of under my chin here and down around my hips with metal rods. I wore that for a year because they were trying to straighten my spine. So I would go back every month and they'd sort of rack me up underneath.
Oh,
Yeah.
darling.
I remember having this big sore, like it
Ooh.
was so and scab underneath there. And I had to sleep in it. It was like 23 hours a day. And at the end of the year, they said, right, we think we need to do an operation. So I have two metal rods in my back. They're called Lukey rods. And they sort of fused my spine and wrapped these wires around to keep the
Mm.
rods in place. And that was when I was 14. And a year after, I had to wear a plastic jacket from sort of just over the boobs to my hips, underneath my clothes. And then I got discharged with a
Mm.
lot of, you will be on painkillers for the rest of your life. You'll be on a breathing machine by the time you're 50, because my right lung is really thin. It's restricted by the shape of my ribs. And yeah, this life ahead of me of you might not be able to have children, and all of this doom and gloom.
Mm.
It's quite a heavy time, Rosie. It
Well,
really was.
honestly, the medical profession, the messaging that they give, I do know that we get almost zero time on communication skills as doctor,
Mhm.
but fancy giving a beautiful young girl that message. It's just
Yeah.
shocking, isn't it? I,
Yeah, it was
I
it was heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, I apologise on behalf of the medical profession for this terrible communication, and to anybody listening. These doctors and medics don't really understand the power of their words, because
Mm.
it's like the voice of authority. It's like hypnosis, and it
Mhm.
can risk becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
But of course, it hasn't. It's sort of activated your rebel, if anything, or your.
Well, it did. Something came from within me, and they used to come round to the house and say, "What do you want? A new desk? Do you want a special chair?" And I was rude, Rose. I remember my parents saying to me, "Stop being so rude to these people who are trying to help you." I was like, "No, I'm not having that. No, no, no." And I was the rebel. So where that came from, I don't know. But I think over those my early 20s, and when I met Michael and I started to want to have children, those voices were very strong in my psyche. You're
Yeah.
going to be in pain. You might not be able to have children. All
Mm,
these things that were said came back. They,
mm.
they had planted a seed, Rosie, definitely. Yeah.
And you told us when we were talking to Sandra Miskimmins that you had a period when you were living life in the fast lane, loads of booze and partying. What sort of age was that, Karen?
I think that was after Jacob. Yes, that was it was after my second child. It was after Murdoch.
Right.
It took me a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So you did get pregnant with Jacob,
Hmm.
and I think that was late 20s.
28. But it took me a long time to get pregnant. And I think that's where these voices, these seeds that were planted, came back in.
Yeah.
I had really terrible acne all around my jawline. So my body was trying to tell me something, and I was not getting pregnant. And at that point, I think this is where the healing journey started, Rosie, because a dear friend of mine, Liz, said, "Have you heard of homeopathy? And have you heard of a company called Weleda?" And I'm like, "Whoa, what?" I couldn't even say the name of the company. But I was at a really low point, and the NHS were telling me, "Go away. Unless you've been trying for years and years and years, we're not interested in helping you sort it
Mm.
out." So that is when I went to Lorraine, and she was my first homeopath. And the difference in the outlook that she gave me, I mean, I was ready to hear it, but the love and the hope and the support that she
Mm.
gave me. I mean, basically, she said, all that you were told after the operation is rubbish. She's really straight, Lorraine. She's like, that is rubbish. You can have a full and healthy life,
Right.
and
Brilliant.
I'm going to help you. And hearing that from somebody in a health profession made all the difference to me.
Brilliant, brilliant. And so was you had the homeopathy before conceiving with Jacob?
I got pregnant the next month.
Oh, wonderful,
I've
wonderful.
been
So
trying for years, and I got pregnant the next month, and Jacob was born a healthy, and he's
beautiful,
26 now.
beautiful.
So,
Well, that's just amazing, isn't it? And I
mm,
think all of you who are practitioners listening, just fully take that on board. These messages of hope and support and encouragement mean everything, because
mm,
that switch, it flicked a switch, didn't it, in your brain,
mhm,
which said, "Oh, okay, I am okay, and I can
mhm.
have a baby." And you know, within a few weeks, it happened.
Yeah,
Incredible.
yeah.
Incredible. But I know it wasn't all smooth, wasn't it? Because you told me that between Jacob and Murdoch, you had a couple of miscarriages. So that must have been tough.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really tough. And what I realize now looking back is that I was working too long hours. I used to get up in a state of fight and flight. I was very, very anxious. I wouldn't eat till 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
I was drinking alcohol, going out, partying, working really hard. I mean, there's no baby going to come through in that environment. So it's like you're not ready to have another child,
Mm.
but not aware of that at the time, Rosie.
But
No,
you did get pregnant with Murdoch.
I did. My beautiful
Yeah.
Murdoch. Yes.
And Murdoch gave you a bit of a challenging pregnancy, I hear.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as I got pregnant, I gave up the job. So this is the start of me, I think. What Murdoch brought for me was if you can't do it for yourself, do it for this baby. And I've
Mm.
seen that myself with my clients. A lot of people that purchase Weleda from me, Weleda products, would come through the baby range because these women can't do it for themselves. It's hard self
Mm.
care, but I
Mm.
will do it for my child. And that was exactly me.
Mm.
So the day I looked at the pregnancy stick, I phoned the office, I went off sick, and I never went back to that job.
Wow, Karen. But what an important thing you just said. That
Hmm.
question of whether we can do these things for ourselves.
Yeah.
We'll bend over backwards, upside down, inside out to help others.
Yeah.
But getting that internal motivational axis running for ourselves is a
Hmm.
biggie.
Yeah, it is.
And that's probably for 98% of the people that I see.
Mm,
Self care, it's not easy, and it does start usually with others, but it's grown and grown in you, Karen.
mhm.
And I think you told me that it was Murdoch lying sideways in the womb that kicked off a hip issue,
Yeah,
because it
yeah,
sounds like that was another turning point.
it was definitely. Well, this is where I discovered Pilates, and yeah, had Murdoch and I had hip issues afterwards. And a friend of mine, Kathy, said to me, "Why don't you come to Pilates with me? It's really good for core work." And I hadn't even heard that before. Now I know it's so important for my scoliosis, but nobody had given me that advice
Right.
before. So we went to a Pilates mat class, and that started to help. And then the teacher, my dear friend Kathy Simons, said, I think you could do with some one to one work. And have you heard of Pilates reformers? And because of the shape of my back, it's probably best that you get advice just for the shape of your body. And that's where I met Louise,
Hmm.
who has been her guest, and I've known her for over 20 years. And initially, I worked with a lady called Georgie Barnes, who I've just reconnected with. Wonderful, wonderful therapist. And honestly, she made me lay on this Pilates reformer bed for nearly 3 months, trying to get my brain to connect with that core muscle that goes from hip to hip. And
Wow.
could I find it? Honestly, I thought I'm wasting my money here. What am I doing? And she's like, no, you will be able to find it. You will be able to find it, Karen. And after 3 months, I felt this muscle twitch in my stomach. I'm like, what is that? What is it? We had a big celebration because Karen had found her core muscle. And it's gone from there. I've been doing Pilates for 20 years and it's really, really helped my
So
back.
when you say you were on the bed for 3 months, I'm assuming that was like once or twice a week,
Yes,
not
yeah,
for 3
not
months.
constantly for 3 months.
She didn't hold you prisoner for 3 months. No,
Oh, she didn't. No, it was just an hour a week of.
an hour a week. Okay. So I've never even seen a reformer bed, let alone lain on one.
Hmm.
So can you sort of give us a sense of what that felt like, what it started to do for you?
Yeah, sure. Well, again, Georgie and then Louise, they were giving me hope. I was coming to Pilates with a very limiting belief of the state of my health.
Right.
So I would say things like, I can't walk more than 3 miles. I can't do that twist exercise because I've got rods in my back. Very strong limiting beliefs. And the Pilates teacher, Louise, particularly Georgie, they would say to me, yes, but we think you can.
Hmm.
And that brings an edge, Rosie, let me tell you, a real sort of anger inside me. Don't tell me what I can do. But it was just enough for me to think, what if I can be healthier than I am today? What if? So now
Beautiful.
I regularly walk 4 or 5 miles. I'm doing all the
Wow.
twisting exercises. If I don't do the exercises, I'm in pain.
Yeah.
Um, so thank goodness for those
So
ladies.
let's just clarify what we mean by a limiting belief. I think that term first came in through NLP, neuro linguistic programming,
Okay.
which is a modality where a linguist, a computer person, and a neurologist got together to identify the patterning and the way that our brains are wired. And they described this idea of limiting beliefs, almost like software on your computer.
Yeah.
So that if something's programmed in by a clumsy doctor or a parent or a nasty school teacher, that says you can't do this, that we are so absorbent, that it's called introjection in our childhood, that we suck up these messages and beliefs, and it becomes like faulty software on our internal computer. So, and this is, of course, at the heart of the work I do and the work the health creation mentors do, and you do, and all of us as complementary therapists too, to just see where these beliefs have gone in and are keeping us stuck,
Mm.
because our default is to go to that particular belief, and it
Mm.
holds us stuck in this uncomfortable comfort zone. But
Yeah.
actually, what's been proven recently, beyond all shadow of doubt, is that our brains are neuroplastic and that we can reprogram and we can create new beliefs. And there's a process called recruitment. When we set up new pathways in the brain, whether they become established is all about repetition, reminder, reinforcement, that actually the original thing got there by repetition or the voice of authority. But when we're forming a new belief, we need perhaps to write it down, to speak it out, maybe when we go to sleep, as we go to bed, or when we start a meditation or finish a meditation. I can be healed, I can be well, I can walk 5 miles. But, how beautiful that Louise, whatever she did for your body, what she did for your mind. Because
Yeah.
she put in a new program, she cancelled the old program and put in a new program for you.
Yeah, she did. And then what that did for my spirit, Rosie,
Tell us.
because, the belief, Louise is beautiful human being and very well trained as well, very well educated. So but she had time for me, and there was so much care and love. I think I described it in the last episode, this symbiotic relationship between therapist, healer, and client. And it's like being gently took by the hand and walked up the spiral staircase
Gorgeous.
instead
Gorgeous.
of being pushed down the spiral staircase.
Mm.
And, don't get me wrong, I think there has to be something within ourselves. Like, it is our spirit, it is our inner knowing, our
Mm.
intuition. That actually, that information lands well, and it is the truth for me. It was the truth for me.
Beautiful. You're bringing to mind a lady who is a constant source of inspiration for me. One of my very long-term clients called Jilly Gill, who has recovered. She's now 25 years past being told she had stage 4 endometrial carcinoma. And she came to me way back along in 2000, having been told it was weeks or months. But she got fully engaged in a holistic program and herbs and all sorts of things that we got going. Anyway, she, after 2 years, her liver had cleared. After 4 years, her pelvic had cleared. After 10 years, her markers were as normal. And one day I was interviewing her on a platform at a conference, and I said, "So which of the many modalities that you used was the thing that you think healed you?" And she said, "Well, you told me." And I said, "What did I tell you?" And she said, "You told me my body has mechanisms to heal cancer. All we have to do is switch them back on again." So I went away and got on with it. And I didn't say that on purpose. It wasn't planned. It obviously just popped out of my mouth. But that became the new reality. My body has mechanisms to heal cancer. So, again, I say to any practitioners listening, put in those messages of hope and positivity and talk about the body's healing capacity, because then that can become the reality. This belief is everything. So you just said it really affected your spirit. So
Yeah.
we'll come back to the body in a moment, but what do you think it did for your spirit?
Oh, I think I'm feeling it today, Rosie. I've had a week or so of pain because I've travelled up to Scotland. I've been lifting heavy things, all the things that, somebody once said to me, don't do. And then I remember all of these teachers of mine. I call them health angels. You are one of them. But my homeopath, my Pilates teacher, my holistic doctor, my acupuncturist, you name it, I've had one, all the treatments. And what it does for me when I bring that back to mind, when I am in my lowest point, particularly when I feel pain, that's when I can be really low, which is my body saying to me, you're doing too much. Listen to us. That's enough. But it takes me to a low point. It takes me to back into that trauma, and it takes me back into the victim of something bad happened to me when I was 14 and I had this major operation. So I spend a bit of time in there because it's important. The dark is as important as the light to me. But when I'm in there, in that place of pain, and I have tears and I'm worried about whether I'm going to end up in a wheelchair or whatever the future can be, my health angels and what you've taught me. Oh, this is tender. Yeah, this is really tender. But what you've taught me and the hope you've given me comes back in. And this time I remembered an exercise that Louise showed me a long, long time ago, where I lay on my back and I cross my legs and I bend it to the side and my spine shifted. It went clunk, clunk, clunk. And then I wake up and I'm out of pain and my spirit just goes whoosh. I'm buzzing. I'm everything in the world is wonderful again. And I think every time I go into that darkness, I bounce off the bottom with
Mm,
all of your help and back into,
mm.
you know, loving life, alive and loving it again. But I think, Rosie, for a long time, I tried to stay in the light all the time, and that's impossible. That's exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah, dear Penny Brown used to call that the tyranny of positive thinking, and she said it's not about pretending you feel okay when you don't feel okay. The positivity that she's talking about is like the peace after the storm,
Mm,
that sort of fresh, new, exactly as you say. And it is important. Do you know that having a good cry or a
mhm.
good rage is as stimulant to the immune system as having a good laugh?
Yeah,
So,
amazing.
yeah, it is right. And you're so wise to say that if we can feel and not block down those feelings, if we can grieve, and when we're, just to let that pain come through in
Mm,
tears or rage or whatever else we feel, even despair, and if we can be held in that, and that's where the work you do as an
mm,
emotional resilience coach and in your beautiful women's circles
yeah,
is allowing that energy to move through as feeling, and then guess what? The pain lifts and the body changes because we're
yeah.
not sort of keeping that lid on the pressure cooker.
Well, that I got all the badges going of being the positive person. I mean, to the point where I used to annoy people because something bad had really happened, and I'd be the one going, "Yes, but we can do something about that." And here's the silver lining. They'd all look at me and go, "Shut up, Karen," because I just was so afraid of facing what was there, Rosie.
Yeah.
It was a protection mechanism. I didn't feel, I mean, I guess my nervous system wasn't ready to process
No,
the
you didn't
grief,
feel
the
safe
loss.
enough. You
It
didn't
didn't
feel
feel safe
safe
enough.
enough
Yeah,
to let your grief flow. And
yeah.
this is, I mean, I know you're just about to restart your women's circles. Now
Mhm.
you're based up in Scotland. And
Yeah.
again, anybody listening, I thoroughly recommend. There are all the contact details on the aliveandlovingit.org website for Karen,
Mhm. Mhm.
of how to get in touch to join a woman's circle, because that the magic of the group and the holding and the love and the attention of all those other women
Mm.
can really provide the holding necessary for us to empty out, to sob, to wail, to rant, to scream, whatever. Not that people often go to those edges, but it's there. That holding
Mm.
is there. But
Yeah,
I just,
absolutely. It was.
as we're in this subject, Karen, of
Yeah.
of grief and emotion, you told me, well, we talked as doctor patient about this question of your chest and what was going on in your chest, because one of the ghastly pictures you were given is that you would be recurrent infections and not able to breathe and so forth. So just tell us about the story of your lungs and your chest.
Yeah, absolutely. So my right lung is a lot thinner than my left lung. I've seen that X-ray because of the structure of my spine and my rib cage. I've had regular peak flow tests and my peak flow is 120. So everybody wanted to give me inhalers and things to raise that, but I said no, because it's my picture of health. I own that. This is my wellness level. But I did get repeat infections, Rosie,
Mm,
very much so through my 20s, and they were getting worse.
mm,
Into my 30s, they were getting more regular and more intense. So I started taking antibiotics every time I had one. And the homeopath, Lorraine, said to me, "Well, hang on a minute, your body needs time to heal this infection and to build your immune system. Instead of bringing an extra army in, why don't you go to bed when you've got a chest infection and let your body heal?" And I forget the remedy. She could have given me anything, Lorraine. I really trusted her. I forget the remedy now, but anyway, it worked. And so then the chest infections started getting less frequent and less intense. And then I met Joey Walters, whose work, Rising Connected, is the women's circles and this emotional resilience. And at that point, I think even though I was Miss Positive about everything, I wasn't actually feeling anything, Rosie. I
Mm.
was completely numb. And what I used to do is whenever I was in conflict with anybody or there was some problem going on, is I would jump over my feelings and go straight to theirs
Mm.
with compassion and love and try and fix them
Mm.
and, really so that I didn't have to face what was going on. This well of emotion was coming up. So I started this being in circle, and that was 6 years ago now. And then something came into my awareness of grief is held in the lungs. And I know you can say much more about that, but
Yeah.
that really landed with me. I'd just lost my mum. I've got the grief of my life, my spine, the dancing. It was just building up one after another. So I started to explore my grief in circle. And more and more, this safety grew within me. As the container was safe, the safety grew within me to be able to express uh,
Mm.
my feelings. And I guess my nervous system was ready for it. It
Yeah.
wasn't when I was a teenager. So whatever coping mechanism came in protected me from that. And now at 54, in my 50s, I was able to express these feelings.
Amazing. I
And
mean, I think that might have even been me that told you that, because I was taught when I was studying Oriental medicine that the Chinese say that grief is situated in our chests,
yeah.
but it can be the throat as well.
Mhm.
If we're very upset, it does affect how we talk.
Yeah.
But one of my teachers said to ask people who have bad chests, if your lungs were weeping, what would they be weeping for?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
And quite often that just kind of takes the lid off and the tears start to flow.
Yeah.
So, it is important. And often the combination is the kidneys and the chest being low. When we are frightened, exhausted, and sad, our lung energy goes down and our kidney energy goes down.
Mhm.
And obviously that's the picture in stress. And if we then have a damp, cold constitution, then we can be particularly prone to chest infections.
Yeah.
And, with that constitution, people can be affected by molds and as well as bacteria, viruses, and so forth. So
Yeah.
actually that combination of emotional release work and getting some fire, if we have that cold, damp constitution,
Mhm.
keeping ourselves warm and building the heat with yoga practice, or even a good hot curry or ginger, chili, ginger, keeping that fire burning and
Mm.
not letting ourselves get overtired.
Mhm. But what I think now is that when I can feel the tightness in my chest, when I feel that coming on, I know I've got a toolkit, and
Yes.
I take vitamin C, and and I breathe. I mean, breathing. We haven't mentioned breathing yet, Rosie, but you introduced me to breathing. I There was a long periods of time I just didn't move this rib
Yeah.
cage. So I do big breathing exercises when I feel it coming on. I take vitamin C, I do Pilates, I journal, I have a cry, and it's enough to keep it at bay. I've had
Beautiful.
less chest infections now than I've ever had.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, sweetheart, thank you so much for taking us to those tender edges, to sharing so deeply your journey. And look at you, how beautiful, radiant, fit. You're clearly getting fitter as you get older. So, closing thought, if there's anything you wanted to say to anybody listening, what might that message be?
Well, find your health angels.
Mm,
Find the tribe. Find your people who believe in you and will help you find hope. It's
perfect.
the start of everything.
Absolutely.
There isn't a magic pill, Rosie,
Mm.
when you get ill you can take, to stop the symptom coming in. There just isn't. It's a combination of things, but you know yourself better than anybody else. Find your intuition and find the people who will
Yeah,
help you be well, and believe it, because it's
beautiful.
true.
Beautiful. I mean, it's that sort of know thyself, but build that support framework around yourself with, you said, support, hope, encouragement, love, and wisdom.
Yeah.
Because you managed to pick lovely, beautiful Louise with her physical intelligence, with her mind-body connection. You found healing, you found integrative medicine, you found Walida, the herbs, the homeopathy. You've integrated your own care, actually.
I have.
So thank you so, so much, Karen,
Mm.
and bless you every step forward on your fantastic life journey and health journey.
Thank you, Rosie. And I just, it feels good to share today. Just to, if any of this can help anybody else, that's what my intention is so strong on that for the podcast. And we've had some incredible comments back that it's like listening to old friends talk about and share experiences. We're remembering to do that. We're remembering these connection, particularly between women, where we can strengthen each other. So more of that, please.
Beautiful. Bless you, Karen.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Alive and Loving It. We really hope that today's conversation has sparked your passion and showed you ways to open up into the vibrant life that's possible for you.
Absolutely, Rosie. I mean, we do have to remember that transformation begins with love, and that is self-love, love for others, and love for our beautiful planet. When you embrace love and you just allow yourself to receive as much as you give, you unlock the fullest potential of your life.
That is the truth, Karen. And we're here to support you every step of the way on your journey. So if you enjoyed what you heard today, please join our community and check out our trainings and our services, such as my Dr. Rosy Daniel Clinic and Karen's beautiful women's circles and retreats, and the events where we can all go deeper together. And do please send us your feedback. We want to hear your ideas for the podcast, who you'd like us to interview, and the questions you want us to ask and get answered. Through the contact page on our website, just go to aliveandlovingit.org.
I've really enjoyed reading them. But when you're there, be sure to sign up for our newsletter and updates. And what about following us on Instagram as well? We are at Alive and Loving It Community. Once you've signed up to the newsletter, you'll receive extra notes from today's show and more inspiration to help you live your most vibrant life.
Thank you for being with us. Keep shining, stay true to yourself, and remember, this is your time to live your fullest, healthiest life.
So until next time, keep doing what you love most in life. I know Rosie and I will be. We're so excited to connect with you on the next episode of Alive and Loving It. And we welcome you with open hearts to our Alive and Loving It community.